Hey guys, tonight we're slipping through a heavy wooden gate just as it creaks shut for the night. The torches are being lit, the vendors are packing up, and the cobbled streets of this medieval town are slowly quieting like a held breath. You've just made it in time, because in a few more moments those gates will lock tight and anyone left outside will have to explain themselves to a very grumpy night watchman. And trust me, he doesn't care if your grandmother's stew is still on the fire. Tonight, you're not just visiting, you're joining the night watch. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments. Where are you listening from, and what time is it for you? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step into the last light of the day, a golden sliver slipping behind the town's stone walls. The breeze shifts, bringing with it the scent of wood smoke and horse dung, which, unfortunately, was kind of the perfume of the era. The guards at the gate grunt their greetings. They're not here to make friends. They're here to keep everything that's dangerous, diseased, or just plain annoying outside those walls. Including, if it came down to it, you. You're lucky. You made it in. But just barely. The sun has touched the horizon, and that means one thing. The Citadel's great oak gate is closing. It's taller than a two-story house and twice as thick as your sense of survival right now. One side grinds into place, then the other. Boom. The locking bar, so wide 3 men have to lift it, clunks down. You're inside. But if you are 10 minutes late, well, you'd be camped out with the wolves and exiles tonight. And if you think mosquitoes are bad now, imagine sharing a bed with lice that have tenure. You follow the rhythm of the town's shift. Shops close their shutters like blinking eyes. A final shout echoes from the marketplace. A baker curses because he forgot to lock up his flour. Lanterns begin to appear in windows. Then, there it is, the last bell. That bell means a lot more than just bedtime. It signals the beginning of the town's other half, the one where the drunkards, thieves, firebugs, and ghosts come out. And guess who's supposed to keep them all in line? Yep, that would be the night watchmen. You spot them gathering just inside the gate. 4 of them tonight. That's one more than usual. Either someone's nervous about an outsider getting through, or someone's child is being promoted. You can't tell yet. Their armor isn't shiny, not like the fancy noble knights from movies. No, these guys are wrapped in layers of padded wool, thick leather, and a smell that says I've sweated through worse. Their breath clouds the air in puffs as they mutter about assignments. One adjusts his helmet, which looks more like a soup bowl with ambition. The oldest among them is scratching something into a wax tablet, tonight's watch notes. He records which guard takes which stretch of wall, who has the gate key, and when to ring the hour bells. You peek. There's a line that reads, Gate 4, secured late due to merchant dispute. Guess that was you. And now, you're following them. Quietly, like a cat with no responsibilities. But unlike cats, you don't blend in. The cobblestones echo every step you take. One of the watchmen shoots you a glance. You lost? He grumbles, but he doesn't tell you to leave. Not yet. They begin their first loop around the outer streets, checking that nothing was left behind. You learn quickly that they knock on random doors, not to talk, but to see who answers. If someone opens too quickly, it means they weren't sleeping, which usually means trouble. If they don't answer at all, even more suspicious. One man taps a barrel outside a tavern. It sounds hollow. Stolen, he mutters. Again. You'd think guarding a town at night was just standing around. But no, it's an orchestra of vigilance. You have to know the rhythm of the dogs barking, the usual drunks singing, the distant hum of a watermill. If any of that stops, too suddenly or too long, you go check. Because silence in the Middle Ages is rarely a good thing. As the loop continues, you start to feel it, that shift in the air. The wind that carried wood smoke now carries a chill. The sky goes indigo. The corners of buildings grow darker. The watchmen talk less. That's when you hear it, a thud behind the blacksmith shop. Not loud, just off. The guards freeze. One draws a short sword, another grabs a torch. You do your best imitation of a shadow. They round the corner fast. But it's not a bandit or a creeping beast. It's a kid, maybe 10 years old, cowering beside a barrel. Didn't make it home in time, he mumbles. His knees are scraped. His shirt is too big. One of the guards sighs. That makes 3 this week. They escort him home, not unkindly, but not gently either. Curfew is curfew. You learn that tonight's watch ends at dawn. That's nearly 8 hours. No breaks, no meals. Just walking, listening, knocking, staring into dark corners, and hoping nothing stares back. And yet, there's a strange comfort to it. You begin to understand how these walls feel so secure. It's not just stone and gates. It's the people who pace beside them, who squint at shadows, who ring bells when they see movement in the trees. And while you're not officially on the watch, you're starting to feel like you belong. At least, until you hear the second thud. This time, it's not a child. But that's for another part of the night. The second thud is sharper than the first, more deliberate, less like a child stumbling, more like something or someone landing. You freeze. The guards do too. The torch flickers, and for a moment the night seems to hold its breath. South wall, one of them mutters, and before you know it, you're moving again. Your boots slap against the cobblestones, not quite silently, not loud enough to matter. The guards fan out as they approach a narrow alley flanked by 2 aging stone buildings, their roofs slouching like tired shoulders. The alley leads toward a stretch of the southern curtain wall, rarely visited, often forgotten. The lead guard, the one with the short sword and the thick eyebrows that seem permanently furrowed, signals with a flick of his wrist. One man flanks left. Another clutches his torch tighter and moves right, the flame painting jagged shadows over cracked plaster. You're left with eyebrows, who doesn't seem particularly thrilled with your presence. "What do you think you're doing?" he hisses. You blink. Observing? It sounds more innocent in your head. He grunts, which you interpret as acceptance or resignation. "Stay close, or stay behind. Don't wander." You stay close. The group reaches the end of the alley and pauses. There's nothing at first. Just the whisper of wind through slits in the stone, the occasional flap of linen on a drying line above, and that oppressive darkness that seems to hug every medieval corner. But then, a faint clink. Metal on stone. You catch a flicker, a glint low to the ground, just past the old grain storehouse. The guard on the left raises his voice. "Show yourself." Nothing. He takes a step forward. Another. Then, a low growl, not human, and not the friendly kind either. The torch swings around, and for a second, you see it. A dog. No, bigger. Maybe a mastiff, its eyes glowing orange in the firelight. Fur matted, ribs visible. It bares its teeth, but doesn't advance. The guards don't panic. One of them mutters, "That stray again." Turns out the dog's name is Osric. He's not officially part of the watch, but everyone knows him. He's a half-wild guardian, abandoned long ago, who sometimes follows the patrols, sometimes warns them of things they wouldn't see otherwise. You're told he once cornered a burglar behind the church for half an hour until someone heard the screaming. Osric pads off, still growling at whatever spooked him. The guards exhale. Not our trouble tonight, one shrugs. Unless he brings us more. They turn back toward the main road and you follow, heart still ticking a little faster than before. You notice something now. The walls, these enormous barriers of chiseled stone, aren't as impenetrable as they look. In the dark, cracks emerge, literally and figuratively. A loose mortar stone here, a rat hole there, and in one spot, a narrow slit barely wide enough for a grown man to squeeze through. That used to be a drain, says the youngest guard, catching your gaze. They sealed most of them up after the fire. What fire? He looks at you. The one no one talks about. Medieval secrecy. 10 out of 10 for atmosphere, 0 for transparency. As the watch moves deeper into the residential district, the mood lightens a little. They know this part well. Here, the night is dotted with familiar landmarks. The squeaky shutter on the widow's home, the pile of hay outside the baker's cousin's door, the alley where a drunk carpenter once mistook a goat for his wife. They share that last one with you. You laugh. It's a little cruel, but honestly, so is the goat. A few doors down, they stop to chat with the candle maker who's up late finishing an order. He offers each of them a stub of wax. For the gods, he says, and for the rats. The guards accept the candles like it's part of some sacred rite. One even tucks his behind his belt. In case the torch fails, he mutters. It's happened. And just like that, you're reminded how fragile light is in this place. One gust, one slip, and you're swallowed in black. You make a mental note to hold on to something, a torch, a wall, a hand, should that ever happen. The patrol continues toward one of the minor gates, the kind used mostly for carts and waste during the day. At night, it's sealed tight with an iron bolt the size of your forearm. But tonight, something's off. The lock is scratched. Not like it's been picked, more like it's been tested, scraped. You run your fingers over it and feel the uneven ridges, the slight depression of wear that shouldn't be there. The guards crowd around. No one says anything for a long time. Finally, Eyebrow speaks. Someone's been planning. Planning? That's a heavy word here, because planning means purpose. And purpose, in the night, almost always means trouble. They'll try again, he says. Another night. You ask the obvious question. Why not post a guard here? He snorts. We don't have enough men to guard every gate. Not anymore. The truth. Medieval towns weren't fortresses. They were puzzles held together by habit, fear, and not enough funding. The guards rotate through 6 gates, and every night, 1 or 2 remain unpatrolled for hours at a time. You wonder if the townspeople know. You hope they don't. A little later, you pass a wooden cart with a broken wheel, abandoned by the wall. One guard kicks it out of the way. Could hide a man under that. It could. Now you're seeing things differently. Every corner is a question, every object a potential hiding place. It's like you've pulled back the curtain on a world designed to be invisible. A chessboard of shadows, lit by fire and manned by half-sleeping pieces. As the guards make their final check of this sector, they pause beside a public fountain. One pulls out a flask and takes a swig. He offers it to you. Herbal wine, he says, for the nerves. You sip. It tastes like burnt rosemary and regret. They laugh when you cough. You're one of them now, but just when you start to relax. you hear it again. The third thud. Louder this time. From the inside. Not outside the gate. From within the wall. The torchlight flares. Eyebrows draws his sword again. Right, he mutters. Now we find out who didn't go to sleep when they were supposed to. And you follow because you're too curious not to. Because you've come this far. Because, let's face it, you kind of want to be the one who knows the whole story. But that story, it's only just beginning. You move faster now, the gravel crunching louder beneath your boots, though no one seems to care about stealth anymore. The tension has shifted. This isn't about fear, it's about confrontation. The guards fan out again, like a practiced routine. You stick close to Eyebrows, whose actual name you finally overhear, is Tomlin. It suits him less than his face does. Tomlin's grip on his sword tightens, knuckles pale even in the torchlight. The thud came from somewhere along the inner guard corridor, a passage built between two walls that snake behind the buildings and loop back toward the central gate. It's narrow, damp, and, if you're honest, eerily perfect for someone who doesn't want to be seen. You enter the corridor, flanked by two low arches with barely enough room to swing a cat. If that cat were both compliant and tragically long. The guard's torches sputter against the dampness. One curses under his breath as water drips onto the flame. No one's laughing now. Then, you see it. Just ahead, barely visible in the flickering light, a figure crouched against the wall. Small. Still, possibly asleep. The guards move as one. Tomlin leads. Another circles behind. You brace for a shout, a scuffle, a wild explanation. Instead, there's just snoring. The figure is a boy, maybe 12, wrapped in a ragged cloak, dirty cheeks, bare feet. Not again, groans one of the younger guards. You learn quickly that this isn't new. Every few nights, one of the orphans slips past curfew to curl up in the warmest corners of the city. The space between two wall layers, though full of rats, echoes, and moldy bricks, happens to retain heat better than the street. Tomlin kneels and nudges him. Oi. Up the boy startles awake, bleary-eyed, blinking at the circle of flame and angry eyebrows above him. I didn't mean nothing, he slurs. No one ever does, another mutters. They escort the boy back through the corridor and leave him near the almshouse, where he's at least in range of nuns and hot porridge. On the way, you learn something else about the night watch. They're not just guards. They're janitors of chaos, shepherds of lost causes, and, occasionally, babysitters. After the boy disappears through the wooden door, Tomlin sighs. At least it wasn't the butcher's kid again. Apparently, the butcher's son has a habit of sneaking out at night to throw eggs at his enemies' windows, which, in a medieval town, is practically a declaration of war. The streets grow quieter now. The guards begin the first hourly bell check, an old practice to assure the town that the walls haven't crumbled and no one's been murdered in their sleep. One of them climbs a wooden platform near the gate tower and rings a single low tone. It echoes, soft and slow, through the stone bones of the city. You think it sounds comforting, until it doesn't. The echo fades, and you realize there was another bell further off, a split second before this one. The guards hear it too. That came from East Gate, one says, not hiding the concern. Impossible, says another. We haven't checked it yet. And now the chase is on. You move fast, crossing through back alleys and narrow walkways. The stone glistens with moisture, and your feet slide once or twice. Your torch sputters, but no one stops. When you reach East Gate, it's shut. Locked, as it should be. But the bell rope is swinging. No one is there. The guards check everything. Latches, bolts, hinges. No signs of tampering, no footprints, no scent of sulfur or brimstone in case you were hoping for a demon. Just one oddity, a small leather pouch left hanging on the inside of the door handle. Inside? A dead rat. It sounds absurd. It is absurd. But the guards don't laugh. Tomlin turns the pouch over in his hand and mutters, "Message." "From who?" you ask. He shrugs. "Could be anyone. Could be no one. People leave things at gates all the time. Warnings, threats, sometimes gifts. This, you gather, is part of the silent language of the medieval knight. If you can't write, and most can't, you leave symbols. A sprig of herbs equals sickness inside. A red cloth equals fire. A rat in a pouch could mean plague, one of the younger guards whispers, suddenly pale. Or worse, a curse. You're reminded that medieval life isn't just governed by law and order. It's ruled by superstition, stories, and fear stitched into the seams of everyday life. The guards don't dismiss the pouch. They don't laugh it off. They burn it. There's no protocol for that, just instinct. One of them spits after tossing it into the flames. Another mutters a prayer, half Latin, half mumbled nonsense. You can't help but shiver. Back on patrol, things settle for a bit. You pass a group of women dumping chamber pots into the side gutter. They don't say hello. You don't either. That's the unspoken rule. If you're out past curfew, don't draw attention. Tomlin tells you about the old curfew bell system. Back in his father's day, bells rang every 2 hours to mark the passing of the night. But over time, they dropped it to 4. Fewer men to ring them, less trust in what might come with each sound. Once, he says, a bell rang 5 times in one night. People thought it meant war. Turned out to be a drunk monk who got stuck in the tower. The guards chuckle. You do too, but it's a strained laugh. Because you realize now, anything unexpected in the night means something bad, always. You continue toward the lower merchants' district, where stalls are empty and carts half covered in tarps. This is the area most vulnerable to thieves, but it's also the most boring, unless you count the occasional rat opera. Tonight, however, something glints from under a cart. You crouch. It's a knife. Not a fancy one. Not ornamental, but not something you drop by accident either. The blade is clean, the leather grip almost new. Tomlin picks it up and inspects it. This wasn't here earlier. The guards look around. No one. Nothing. But the feeling comes back. The weight in your chest. The certainty that someone has been moving just ahead of you this whole time, watching, testing the gaps. You ask the question none of them wants to say aloud. Are we being followed? Tomlin answers without looking at you. No? Then after a beat, we're being measured. Measured. It hangs in the air like breath on a cold window, uncertain, unsettling, and far too real to be ignored. You know what he means. This isn't a random knife, not something left behind in a scuffle or dropped in a panic. This was placed, positioned. A quiet message, sharpened to a point. You keep walking. The guards are quieter now, more methodical. They check corners they usually skip, test locks twice instead of once, tap on cellar doors with the flat of their swords. The night feels different, not louder, not darker, just watched. Like the town itself is waiting for something. It doesn't help that you're now deep in what locals call the throat. It's a narrow stretch of road hemmed in by high stone buildings on either side. No windows at ground level, no lanterns, just towering black walls and one narrow strip of sky overhead. It's called the throat because it swallows light, and because, more than once, it swallowed people too. The guards step lightly here. No idle chatter, no jokes. The youngest one, Corm, grips his spear with white knuckles. That's when you hear it again. A whisper, not close, not loud, just there. You pause. Tomlin raises a hand. Everyone stops. You listen. Nothing now. Just the blood rushing through your ears and the creak of old timber overhead. Then it comes again, closer, a single word maybe. Something like a name, or not quite a name. A hiss, stretched just enough to seem human. And suddenly, it's very clear that someone is in the throat with you. The guards form a triangle. Two flanking, one behind. You're in the center, a place of safety that feels anything but. Tomlin leans toward the shadows, eyes scanning with the precision of someone who's seen worse and doesn't want to again. Then something moves. A flutter, like cloth catching wind, though there is no wind here. The torch catches a glimpse of fabric, a hood, deep and tattered, vanishing around a corner. The guards give chase. So do you, because of course you do. You've come too far to turn back now. You follow the alley until it forks, and there, in the muddy stone, you see them. Footprints. One set. Deep. Fresh. Barefoot. Who runs barefoot in a medieval city at night? You ask, already knowing the answer. No one good. You round the corner. Nothing. Just another stretch of stone, a few barrels, a rat giving you side eye. But the guards don't give up. They know this town better than anyone. They start scanning for tells, disturbed dust, crooked crates, loosened bricks. And they find one. A loose stone, knee-height, near the base of the wall. Behind it, a gap, just wide enough for someone thin to slip through. And behind that, stairs. Ancient, crumbling stairs, spiraling down, deeper than you'd expect from any normal building. The kind of stairs that make you question every decision that led you here, including but not limited to wearing soft shoes and following strangers into medieval alleyways. The guards hesitate. You don't. You're already stepping in before Tomlin growls. Are you mad? Just curious, you reply. It's dark. Of course it is. You descend, the walls pressing in, the air growing colder with every step. The torch casts long shadows, and each one seems to move just slightly too late. At the bottom, a chamber, small, low ceiling, dust thick enough to taste. It looks like an old wine cellar, long forgotten. Empty, except for one thing. A mark on the wall. Not a painting, not a drawing. A burn, deliberate, circular, the size of a dinner plate, etched deep into the stone. The guards join you. One swears, another backs away, crossing himself. You don't recognize the symbol, but they do. Firing, Tomlin says. Old cult stuff. Forbidden. Cult. Of course there's a cult. Because what's a medieval knight without a secret society, a creepy symbol, and some vaguely ominous stairs? Used to be one in town, Tomlin explains. Before my time, worshipped fire, or feared it. Hard to tell. You run your fingers near the mark. The stone is warm, still warm. That's when you hear it. A scrape, above you, not below. Someone's at the top of the stairs. The guards spin, weapons raised. You shield the torch, but there's no one. Just that same whisper again. Closer now, clearer. Not words, just breath. Dry, slow breath. The guards bolt up the stairs, you with them, lungs burning. At the top, the alley is empty. No footsteps, no fluttering cloth, only the faintest scent of ash. You spend the next hour double-checking every gate. Twice. The guards don't joke anymore. Corm stops whistling. Tomlin mutters about increasing patrols, though you both know the town can't spare the men. You finally return to the main gate. It looms silent, the locking beam still in place. One of the guards knocks 3 times on the wood. some kind of superstition, or maybe just habit. Then, from the shadows of the gatehouse, a voice. "You're early." The speaker steps forward. A man in the night watch uniform, but not one you've seen before. He's lean, middle-aged, with a voice like wet gravel. "I was told there'd be 5 of you tonight," he says, looking past the group. Tomlin narrows his eyes. "There are only 4 scheduled." The man frowns. Then, "Who's the 5th I saw walking the outer wall an hour ago?" Silence. Heavy. Unnatural. Even the torches seem quieter, the flames pausing mid-flicker as if listening. The man at the gatehouse, gravel voice, unfamiliar uniform, tilts his head. "I saw them clear as daylight," he says. "Outer wall, eastern stretch, moving slow, real slow. Thought it was one of yours." Tomlin doesn't answer right away. His jaw shifts left, then right, like he's chewing on a stone made of suspicion and mild panic. "There's no 5th, he says flatly. "There never was." You glance at the other guards. None of them look confused. None of them shake their heads or say, "Wait, wasn't Ulrich with us earlier?" Because no one's missing, which means someone's extra. Corm whispers, "Could have been a shadow." Another guard mutters, "Could have been worse." You ask the obvious question, "What's worse than a shadow?" They don't answer, not with words. But Tomlin starts walking, and not toward the main gate, not toward the safety of the watch post or the warm flicker of guardhouse lanterns. No, he's heading back along the outer wall, because if someone was walking the wall, that means either A, a guard went rogue, B, someone snuck inside and decided to take a casual nighttime stroll along a heavily guarded medieval defense structure, or C, you're about to have a really bad time. So, of course, you follow. You walk the wall's perimeter path, gritty stone underfoot, torchlight trembling in your hand. The wind's picked up now, tugging at cloaks and hair, whispering secrets in a language you almost think you understand. The path curves sharply. That's when you see it. Footprints, in the dust, fresh. They loop around the outer edge of the walkway, not hurried, not scattered, just deliberate. One pair, bare feet, again. "Same as earlier," Tomlin murmurs. You reach the edge of the southern turret, a small tower, not often manned. One of the budget cuts, apparently. The guards call it Hollow Watch. Supposedly haunted. Definitely understaffed. There's a narrow door, closed, unlocked. Inside, nothing. Stone steps, a coil of rope, a ladder leading to the turret roof, and a smell. Smoke, old but distinct. You follow it up the ladder, Tomlin at your side, another guard behind. The roof is empty, except for a candle, still burning. Who leaves a candle in the wind? It's the stubby kind used for rituals, not light. Blackened wax. Smells like rosemary, something acrid. Bloodroot, maybe. You don't know medieval herbology, but you do know weird when you smell it. Tomlin kicks it over. The flame dies with a hiss. Then he picks something up from the ledge. A feather. Long, black, damp with dew. He says nothing. He doesn't have to. You can feel it. Something's circling this town. Not physically, maybe. Not with claws and teeth and a pitchfork. But with symbols and footsteps and rituals done just out of sight. You ask, half joking, "Is this where the demons come in?" Tomlin actually laughs, a single bark of a sound. "No," he says. "Demons at least follow rules." You descend the tower, rejoin the others. The night is deep now, near its midpoint. Cold seeps into your sleeves. Your hands are stiff. Your mind buzzes with questions. That's when someone mentions the watch book. It's not a ledger, not the duty chart. It's something older. A record kept by the oldest surviving member of the Night Watch, updated only when strange things happen. Stored in the iron box, a padlocked chest beneath the armory, only opened when patterns begin to form. Tonight, Tomlin decides the pattern has formed. You follow the guards to the central barracks, a squat building near the keep, roof patched with slate and moss. Inside, a dim hallway, weapons on racks, a small hearth flickering near dead. In the back, beneath a bench, Tomlin lifts a floorboard and pulls out a key, then the iron box. He opens it with a grunt. Inside, a single book, bound in grey leather, stained on the edges. He flips it open. The entries are sparse, most just a few lines, but all in the same hand. No one dares write in it unless they've earned the right. Tomlin reads aloud, Year of Drought. Bell rang out of turn. South wall, scratch marks appeared in mortar. 3 nights in a row, bare footprints on northern parapet. Gatemen heard name whispered. Candle found burning in tower, where none had been since siege. Wax traced to old apothecary, closed for 30 years. A man claimed he saw himself on the wall, then vanished. The air grows heavy. Corm backs away. The youngest always take it the hardest. You whisper, Is this real? Tomlin closes the book. It's real if it repeats. And that's the problem. It's repeating. You leave the barracks feeling colder than when you entered. Even the torches seem uncertain now, flames swaying in hesitant curves. It's nearly the witching hour, when even shadows try to sleep. But yours just got longer. As you resume the patrol, you start noticing more things. A shutter ajar where it shouldn't be. A rope ladder coiled too neatly beside a granary. A chalk mark on a cellar door, shaped like a triangle inside a square. You're not sure what's more disturbing, that these things are happening, or that the guards don't seem surprised. They notice. They file it away. They don't talk about it. Because they know what happens when you name something too soon. And so, you keep moving, past doorways that creak open and shut in the wind, past wells that echo when they shouldn't, past alleyways that feel too cold for the season. You patrol a city that looks asleep, but doesn't feel asleep. And somewhere beyond the walls, past the fields and the frost, you swear you hear a sound, a long, low hum, almost like breathing. You don't say anything. Not about the hum, not about the chill crawling up your spine, not about the sudden, irrational urge to climb the nearest tower and check that the stars are still where you left them. Because here's the unspoken truth you're starting to learn. In the medieval night, silence is survival. Even the gods say less now. The jokes have vanished, replaced by grim nods and flickers of torchlight. Every shift of your cloak feels too loud. Every cough ricochets off the stone like a war drum. You're rounding the Weaver's Quarter, a cluster of sagging timber buildings that smell permanently of wool, urine, and boiled dye. Tomlin walks slightly ahead of you, lantern held low, illuminating more rats than you'd like to acknowledge. Corm brings up the rear, his eyes flicking between shadows like he's afraid they'll flick back. You're not wrong, because that hum, you hear it again. Low, resonant, not like music, not like words. More like a sound that's not meant to be heard aloud. Tomlin stops. His expression doesn't change, but you notice the tightness in his jaw return. You all heard that, he says. Not a question, a confirmation. Corm nods too fast. Another guard clears his throat. Could be wind. Tomlin shakes his head slowly. Wind doesn't echo in triads. Triads? You listen again. And yes, he's right. 3 tones, always 3. Rising, then falling, like a call. or a summons. You ask, where's it coming from? No one answers. Instead, the guards turn, not toward the gate, not toward the watchtower, but toward the cistern. It's an old structure at the edge of the weavers' quarter. A stone dome, squat and moss-covered, with a grate at the top for runoff, and a wooden door leading down to the actual reservoir chamber. Rainwater for the town in spring, dry as bone by midwinter. Shouldn't be anything down there, Tomlin says, more to himself than to you. But he's already unlocking the door. The stairs downward are slick with moss. You go in third this time, behind Corm, who's suddenly become very devout and is muttering a prayer to Saint Modestus, which you later learn is the patron saint of hydrology, or goats, or both. The cistern is wrong. You expect darkness, sure. Maybe damp, maybe the occasional bat. But you don't expect candles. Dozens of them, burned low, arranged in a circle along the stone rim of the dry well, each one stuck into a lump of wax, some mixed with hair, human hair, some red, some gray. And in the center, a handprint, pressed into ash, not charcoal, ash, the kind left over from something that didn't burn clean. The fingers are long, too long, the shape distorted, as if it were pressed by someone unsure of their shape. No one moves. Corm is whispering again. The older guard beside him, Rauk, spits and mutters, "This is old fire." Pre-church, bad stuff. You ask, who would do this? Tomlin answers without looking away. Someone who wants to be seen. You lean closer to the ash print. The stone around it has been scraped. Fingernail marks, curved in spirals. You touch the edge of one and it flakes under your finger. It's not stone, it's salt. Tomlin grabs your wrist. Don't touch anything. Too late. The hum again, louder now, not in your ears, in your bones. You all bolt. The door slams behind you, on its own, maybe not. No one sticks around to ask. Back on the surface, the town feels smaller, the alleys more angled, the walls too close. You realize something important. This place, the town you've been walking, protecting, mocking gently like some kind of historical safari, is scared. And it's not scared of bandits or fire or taxes or rats. It's scared of whatever comes at night and doesn't leave footprints. The guards regroup at the central watch post, breathing hard, brushing dust and wax off their cloaks. No one says cult. No one says witchcraft. No one says this again. But you feel it hanging in the air, like wood smoke, or prophecy. Tomlin lights a new torch. His hands are steady, but his eyes aren't. 2 more hours until sunrise, he says. You've only been out here for 4. You ask, is this a normal night? He smiles without warmth. There's no such thing. Back on patrol again. Your legs are tired now. Your boots are wet. Your fingers ache. But your mind is sharper than it was hours ago. You've seen things, heard things, felt the undercurrent of a city pretending to sleep while its walls whisper stories older than lore. And it's here, during this last stretch, when your guard is lowest, when the promise of dawn seems like enough protection, that the final sign appears. A bell rings, not from the tower, from the wall itself. You turn, there, nailed to the side of the east gate, a hand. Dried, wrapped in red ribbon, holding a bell tied to one curled finger. The bell sways gently. No breeze. You take a step forward and the guards stop you. Rauk's voice is hoarse. That's a cursed bell. You ask what that means. He says, it means something's inside. Inside the town, inside the wall, inside one of us. He doesn't clarify. He doesn't need to. Because in the medieval night when a curse bell rings, someone never wakes up. You don't blink. You don't breathe. For a moment, no one does. The bell still swings, slow and silent, like it's underwater, like it's waiting for something. Tomlin steps forward. He draws his sword, not for fighting, but for ritual. That's how he holds it. Not tight, not with fear, but with a weary reverence. The way you might hold a candle into the wind. Stay back, he tells you, and you listen, because everything in your body says the same thing. Don't touch that bell. But Tomlin does. He lifts his sword and taps the base of the bell, gently, once. Ding. The sound is wrong. Too deep. Too long, like someone knocking on a metal coffin. Then he cuts the red ribbon. The hand drops to the ground. It's not human. You know that immediately. Too long, too thin. No fingernails. Skin dried like parchment stretched over bone, or something pretending to be bone. The guards are already forming a perimeter. Corm stands watch with a spear, knuckles pale. Rauk draws a pouch from his belt, salt and dried rosemary. He begins sprinkling a slow circle around the bell, muttering under his breath. The old ways. None of them ask permission. They don't wait for a priest. They handle it themselves, like they've done a dozen times before and hope they'll never do again. You crouch near the gate. There's a mark burned into the wood where the bell had been nailed. A spiral, not carved, branded, and not with heat, with something else. The wood around it is cold, too cold. Frost forming in tiny veins, radiating from the center like a snowflake made of language. Tomlin steps beside you. Same as the others, he mutters. How many? He doesn't answer. You press. How many times has this happened? Tomlin stares at the spiral. Enough that we started carrying salt. You don't ask again. Because there's another sound. A laugh. Software. Delicate. Female. You all turn, weapons raised, eyes scanning the shadows beyond the gate. Nothing. Then, there. A figure standing just beyond the firelight, where the road curves down toward the riverbank. Tall, hooded. Still. Too still. Who goes? Rauk calls. No reply. Corm raises his spear. That's not... He doesn't finish, because the figure turns and walks away. But not normally. Not like walking. More like gliding. A trick of the dark, maybe. Or maybe not. The guards don't chase. They don't even move. Just stare until the figure vanishes around the bend. You finally break the silence. Do you know her? No, Tomlin said. Then softly, but I think she knows us. The hand is burned. The spiral is salted. The bell is buried beneath the flagged stones with old rites none of you can pronounce correctly. The patrol resumes, but it's changed now. Before, the guards were watching for danger. Now they're trying not to be seen by it. You pass the Baker's Square. A door is open. Inside, a single stool, knocked over. A trail of flour across the floor, and then nothing. No footprints leading away, no blood, no body. Just a room where someone should be, and isn't. You close the door. Corm marks the lintel with a charcoal cross. You don't ask why. You already know. Next is the old bell tower. Used to be manned. Now it's just a place for pigeons and drunk apprentices to fall off. Except tonight the ladder is down. The trap door open. Someone's been up there. The guards form ranks, move slow. You're last up the ladder, heart thudding in your throat. On the top platform, nothing. No person, no tracks. Just a single candle, burned down. And a word, carved in the wood of the platform. Nell. You ask what it means. Tomlin answers immediately. It means a death is owed. The rest of the patrol is quiet. No one's out now. Not even the rule breakers, the thieves, the hungry. Because word spreads fast, even without words. The city knows something's moving, something not bound by gates or bells or guards with torches. You circle back toward the main square. That's when the owl calls. 3 times. Corm stops walking. The guards freeze. Because owls don't cry 3 times. Not here. Not this time of year. The last time it happened. Wool Street burned, Tomlin says quietly. 3 homes. Everyone asleep. You pass Wool Street 10 minutes later. Nothing burned, but every window is open, every curtain drawn. And at the center of the street, a doll, small, carved wood, face painted with ash. A tiny bell stitched into its chest with horsehair. Corm throws up. Rauk draws his blade and slices the bell free, drops it in a pouch. Tomlin looks at you. You sure you still want to be here? You nod. Because the truth is, you do. You're not just a guest anymore. Not an observer. You're part of this now. You've seen too much not to keep going. So you walk. You finish the loop. The town doesn't speak, but it breathes. Low. Labored. Like something sleeping just beneath the stone. And above you, the stars have shifted. Not much. Just enough. And the moon? Gone. No moon. Not hidden behind clouds. Not veiled in mist. Just gone. Like someone reached up and erased it from the sky with the back of their hand. The stars hang where they always have, though they seem colder now, harder, as if they are no longer looking down on the town, but looking through it. Tomlin notices too. First time I've seen that, he mutters, but you can tell he's lying. Maybe to himself, maybe to whatever's listening. The guards huddle near the well in the center of the square, where water only runs in spring, and the depth is said to shift depending on how honest the town has been that year. Rauk drops a stone in. You count. 1, 2, 3, 14. No splash. No echo. He steps back. No more of that. Corm tries to joke. Maybe it's dry. Tomlin doesn't even blink. Maybe it's hungry. No one laughs. You decide it's best to keep walking. The patrol heads north toward the old Jewish quarter, abandoned since the last edict forced most families to leave. Some buildings are still lived in quietly. Some windows still glow, but most are dark, and the mezuzahs have been torn off, leaving only small scars where the prayers used to be. You don't speak here. No one does. The walls listen more in this part of town. And what's worse, they remember. That's when it happens. Again, a bell, but not from the towers. From inside a house, you all freeze. Listen. A low chime, not rung, but shaken, like something metal and hollow being turned slowly in a hand. Tomlin moves first, you right behind. The house is small, clay walls, crooked door, broken shutter. The bell chimes again. Softer now. You enter. Inside, dust. Shelves. A broken chair, a sleeping mat, long undisturbed. But on the floor, chalk circles. 3 of them. Concentric. Each lined with symbols you don't recognize. In the center, a small iron bell wrapped in black thread. And beside it, a shoe. Children's size. Worn, stuffed with dried lavender. You feel your throat tighten. This was a ward, Tomlin whispers. A protective one. Rauk spits. Didn't work. You leave the bell. You leave the house. You don't speak until you're 2 streets away. And even then, only to say, it's everywhere, isn't it? Tomlin nods. Not everywhere. Just everywhere that's forgotten. You reach the old wall, the one built generations ago before the new curtain wall went up. The city outgrew it, left it behind. Now it wraps around nothing, a skeleton clinging to a memory. Someone has lit a torch along the top. Just one. It sways, guttering. You climb. No one's there. But someone was. Fresh prints in the soot, bare feet. of course, and on the stone parapet, scratches. Not gouges, not vandalism. Tallies. 5 groups of 5, then 4, then 3, and then a name. You don't want to read it, but you do, because it's yours. Carved softly, clumsily, like someone wasn't sure how the letters fit together. Corm sees it too. He doesn't ask questions anymore. You descend in silence. You pass the church, its bell tower dark, its doors locked, but something inside is singing, not a hymn, a lullaby. You don't go in, because some doors in the night are only ever meant to stay closed. The streets tighten again. Alleyways fork like veins. The wind stills. No dogs bark, no chickens rustle. Even the rats are gone, and you realize the city is gone still to protect you, or to watch you, or maybe both. You reach the final checkpoint, the watermill on the far edge of town. The wheel creaks, slow, back and forth. But the stream is dry. No water has run here since early autumn. So why is the wheel moving? Tomlin steps onto the platform. The others wait. You stay near the doorway. Inside the mill it's dark. You can hear the rope pulleys straining, the old gears grinding, but no one's turned them, no one alive. Then, faintly, from beneath the floorboards, a knock. 3. Then silence. Then 3 again. Morse. Number something older. You look at Tomlin. He's pale now. They used to knock like that, he says quietly. During the famine, to ask for grain. Who did? He swallows. The ones we buried in the granary. You don't ask more. Because you know they weren't supposed to knock anymore. But tonight the dead are curious, and maybe a little impatient. You step outside, the sky is still starless. The bell you thought you heard before, it never stopped. You just got used to it. It starts to rain, not hard, just a drizzle. Fine, cold droplets that seem to dodge the torches and land only on you. The guards glance up. Tomlin mutters, "No clouds tonight." And yet, rain. You wipe your brow. It's not sweat, it's real. Corm tastes it on his tongue and frowns. Not water. He's right. The rain is oily, almost metallic. It clings to your cloak in thin sheens and smells faintly of copper and old teeth. You step away from the mill. Everyone does. The town clock chimes once, just once. But it's not time. Too early. Too wrong. Rauk checks the hourglass. Tomlin checks the sky. Both are quiet. Then Corm says softly, "That clock's been broken for years." You all turn. The clock tower in the center of town, leaning slightly, its brass hands frozen since the plague fire 40 years ago, is still. No one's touched it since the plague ended. No one would dare. And yet it chimed. "Someone wound it," Tomlin whispers. From inside. That's not possible. But tonight, possible, he's sleeping off a fever. You gather torches, weapons, and the last vestiges of your courage. You head for the tower. Its base is sealed with rusted iron. A single door, bolted shut from outside with 6 locks. Every lock is open. Inside, the staircase winds up through stone and wood, narrowing with each turn. The air smells of mildew and something burnt. Not wood, not flesh. Something older. You ascend. Each step creaks. The guards don't joke anymore. No casual remarks, not even swearing, just silence. At the top, a small room, a cracked window, gears frozen in time, cobwebs so thick they move when you breathe. And at the center, a figure, seated, hooded, back facing you. Still. Corm steps forward. His voice cracks. "Sir?" No reply. Rauk moves closer, lifts the torch. "Show us your face." Still no movement. Tomlin signals. You all surround the figure. Then he reaches forward and lifts the hood. Nothing. The hood is empty. No head, no body. Just a bundle of straw, soaked in something dark. holding the hood's shape like a scarecrow. And on its chest, a bell. This one is larger, bronze, old, cracked on one side. And inside the bell, a tongue, not a clapper, a tongue, human, grey and curled, dried like leather. Corm recoils. Tomlin steadies him. No one says a word, because something worse than horror has settled over you now. Recognition. You've seen this figure before. Not the straw, not the tongue, but the pose. It's the exact same silhouette as the figure you saw hours ago, beyond the gate, standing still in the night. Same tilt of the shoulders, same hang of the cloak, same message. We're already here. Tomlin steps back and whispers, "This isn't warning us." You ask, "Then what?" He turns, face pale. It's marking time. The clock behind the figure ticks once, just once. The bell doesn't ring. The tongue moves, only slightly, just enough to make the bell shudder. Rauk mutters an oath and smashes it with the pommel of his sword. The bell cracks clean in two. Everyone breathes again, and you leave. Fast. Back down the stairs, out into the drizzle. It hasn't stopped. In fact, it's gotten worse. Not wetter, heavier. Each drop hits like lead. And when you look at your hands, you see it's not rain, it's ink, thin, black, cold, running in rivulets down your cloak, your fingers, your boots. Corm stares at his palms. It's writing. Tiny script, thousands of letters looping over each other, impossible to read but unmistakably language. You run for cover. Tomlin leads you to a tannery, long abandoned, still reeking of salt and animal death. Inside, the ink stops falling. Your heart is pounding, your ears are ringing. But what's worse is that you can still feel the ink on your skin, trying to form words. Then, from outside, footsteps, running. Someone else? A late traveler? A guard? Number. You peek through the shutter. It's you. Running past. Same cloak, same torch, same stride. Just no face. The torch flickers out. The W turns a corner. Gone. No one speaks. Rauk tightens the grip on his sword until his knuckles crack. Tomlin exhales slowly. Third time this week. Corm sinks to the floor. What does it want? You answer without knowing why. To be real. They stare at you, but you're already sure. Something's pushing against the edges of the town, testing the walls, repeating patterns, taking shapes, waiting for someone, anyone, to believe hard enough that it becomes part of the story. Because in a medieval town, stories are stronger than stone. And right now, something's writing one, with your face. By now, you've lost track of time. The sky hasn't brightened, your legs ache, but you keep moving, because stillness is dangerous. Stillness is how things find you. You follow Tomlin and the others into the dry works, a wide, skeletal frame of beams and ropes where hides once hung to cure in the sun. No one uses it anymore. Not since the big die-off of oxen 2 winters ago. The building has no walls, just support posts and an open roof that lets the stars in. But tonight, there are no stars. The sky above is matte black, not cloudy, not shifting, just blank, like someone painted over the firmament. Corm tilts his head back and whispers, "It's a lid." You don't ask what he means, because you feel it too. Like something vast is holding its breath right above the rooftops, waiting for someone to ask the wrong question. Tomlin lights a lantern. You all move together. Silent, efficient. There's a rhythm now. A kind of unspoken pact among the guards. Not military, not ceremonial. More like ritual. Each step has a purpose. Each glance carries weight. You become part of this strange ballet of fear. And then, in the middle of the dry works floor, you see it. A circle of ash. Perfect. Even. Surrounded by 7 wooden stakes, freshly driven into the ground. Each stake has a name carved into it, and one of them is yours. You step back instinctively. Rauk steps forward, cuts your name free with a belt knife, spits in the dirt. Not tonight, he mutters. Tomlin crouches by the ash ring. He runs his finger through the outer edge, sniffs it. Juniper, myrrh, and sulfur. He frowns. Summoning. Badly done. Corm looks confused. Then why is it working? The air around the circle shivers. Not a breeze. Not cold. A vibration. You feel it in your teeth. A low thrum, like a harp string stretched too far, like something behind the world is testing the walls. You ask, what does it want? Tomlin stands. If I knew that, I'd be burning churches. Rauk throws a flask into the center, holy water by the look of it. When it hits the ash, there's a snap, like lightning splitting bone. The vibration stops. You all exhale together. Corm wipes sweat from his brow. The black rain has stopped. The ink dries on your skin, flaking off in curls like burned parchment. Beneath your skin is pale and cold, but yours again. You move on. The town feels different now, less like a place, more like a maze. You double back more than once. Streets have changed. Doors appear where you're sure none existed. At one point, you pass a bakery window and see yourself inside, kneading dough, eyes hollow, expression slack. You don't stop. You don't look twice. Because Tomlin has one rule. If you see yourself doing something you haven't done yet, don't wait to find out how it ends. You reach the mason's yard near the north gate. Once a place of noise and dust and hammering. Now a graveyard of broken millstones and half-finished saints. A figure is waiting there. Not the hooded one, not the faceless you. Someone real, an old woman, sitting on a stack of limestone blocks, wearing a shawl, eyes black as ink, hands folded. She doesn't move, doesn't blink. Corm starts to speak, but Tomlin holds out a hand. Wait, the woman smiles. Not kindly, not cruelly, just knowingly. You're late, she says. Her voice is like wet paper tearing. Tomlin steps forward. We didn't ask, but you knew, she says. You always know when it's the 10th night. You freeze. What's the 10th night? No one answers, not even the old woman. She rises. Her height seems inconsistent. Too short one moment, too tall the next. Like the air around her is arguing with her dimensions. She pulls something from her shawl, a piece of twine, knotted, 13 loops. She hands it to you. You're the pivot, she says. Hold this until the bell rings. What bell? She grins. The last one. Then she vanishes. No puff of smoke, no swirl of cloaks. Just gone. Corm is shaking now. You are too. But Tomlin doesn't even blink. He takes the twine from you, studies the knots. One for each hour since dark. Rauk mutters. It's been more than that. Tomlin nods. Exactly. You stand in silence. And then, from deep within the earth, a groan, like stone shifting, like foundations waking up. The town trembles. Not much. Just enough to let you know that it felt that moment, that it was part of the exchange. You don't know what the twine means. You don't know what happens when the last bell rings, but you're holding it now, and the knots are warm, each one pulsing like a tiny heartbeat. And if you listen carefully, really listen, you swear they're counting down. You try not to grip the twine too tightly, but it's hard. Because each knot seems to move when you're not looking, not unraveling, not tightening, just shifting. Like they're recalculating, adjusting their countdown in response to something you're doing, or thinking, or breathing. Tomlin watches you hold it. He doesn't offer to take it back. That's not how this works anymore. You're the pivot, remember? And pivots don't get to step off the board. You continue through the mason's yard, past piles of forgotten statues, headless angels, half-carved lions, a saint whose eyes were never finished. The stone glows faintly in the torchlight, and for a second, it almost looks like the statues are sweating. You blink. They're not. Probably. The road forks ahead. Left leads back toward the east gate, where the curse bell had swung just hours ago. Right leads toward the butcher's row, now empty since no slaughter happens at night. Unless it does. Tomlin pauses. Split up. Rauk grunts. Terrible idea. Tomlin shrugs. Still the best one. You and Corm take the left. Tomlin and Rauk head right. As you walk, you count your steps, unconsciously at first, then intentionally, trying to measure how far you've come, how far you've changed, but every time you reach 30, you forget the number. Corm notices it too. He stops in the street, mouth twitching. You feel that? You nod. I can't count past 30. He laughs, nervously. What, does Math sleep during the night watch too? The twine tightens in your palm. Another knot pulses. Only 11 now. You don't want to know what happens when you reach 0. So you keep walking. You pass a street lamp still flickering, even though no one's lit it in decades. You pass a door you don't remember ever seeing, too short for a human, too tall for a dog. And you pass a mirror, leaning against a wall. No frame, no stand, just a tall sheet of warped glass, its surface rippling like water beneath thick ice. Corm steps in front of it, stops cold. You join him. In the mirror, you see yourselves, but wrong. Your reflection is turned away, walking deeper into the alley, into a place that doesn't exist behind you. The stones are unfamiliar. The air inside it is blue. Corm's reflection looks back over its shoulder. Smiles. Not kindly, not cruelly, just knowingly. Then it vanishes. The mirror cracks from corner to corner. You step back. The twine in your hand throbs again. Not 10 unravels. You whisper to yourself, that was 9. You don't know how you know that, but you do. You rejoin Tomlin and Rauk near the old blacksmith's forge. The coals have been dead since autumn, but the air here is still warm. Rauk lifts a hammer lying beside the anvil. It's bleeding, just a trickle. Slow, thick, dark. From the handle. From nowhere. Corm mutters, "Why's the town bleeding?" Tomlin answers too fast. "It's not the town." Then what? You don't get to ask. Because a bell rings. Not the church, not the gate. This one comes from below, deep, distant. As if someone just dropped a cathedral-sized fork onto a world-sized plate, miles underground. And the air shifts. A breeze circles your boots, spirals upward, makes the ash in the air dance. And from the forge, something whispers. Not words, just tone. The sound of someone trying to remember how to speak. Rauk slams the bleeding hammer back onto the anvil. The whisper cuts off instantly. But the twine in your hand, hot now. Another knot unravels. 8. You clutch it tighter. Why me? You ask. Tomlin just stares at you. You are awake. That's all the reason it needs. The wind rises. No leaves, just dust. Bone, chalk. You all shelter inside the forge for a moment as it passes. And when it clears, the street has changed. Where there was stone, now there's packed earth. Where there were lanterns, now there are wooden masks, hung from posts like they're watching. Corm doesn't want to move. Neither do you. But Tomlin's already walking, because this is part of the night watch. seeing what the town becomes when it forgets itself. You walk. You pass a tree that shouldn't be here. Twisted roots, charred bark, hanging from one branch, a small wooden sign. Scrawled in pitch, they open the wrong gate. You don't ask who they are. You don't ask what gate. Because some questions are just invitations. And tonight, invitations come with return addresses. You continue. The twine pulses again. Another knot. 7. You hold it tighter, but it still unwinds. You look up, and in the dark, starless sky, something is moving. Not a bird, not a cloud. Something vast, shaped like absence. Corm sees it too. He doesn't speak. No one does. You just walk faster. Because the town is shrinking now. Streets curling inward, buildings slanting like tired teeth. And behind you, footsteps. Not yours. Not Corm's. Something heavier, following the curve of your path. Not rushing, just matching, waiting. The footsteps don't echo. They don't need to. They're closer than that. You don't turn around. Neither does Corm. You both know instinctively you're not allowed to see it yet. Not because it will hurt you, but because if you do see it, really see it, it will know you're ready. And then it gets to decide what happens next. Tomlin leads the way again, his lantern guttering with every step, as if even the flame wants out. Rauk, dead silent now, pulls out a chain of iron nails wrapped in old string. No one asks why he carries that. No one's in the mood for stories that end in nails. The buildings grow narrower, hunched together like conspirators. Some of the windows blink, some of the doors breathe. You reach a narrow lane the guards call the Needle. Why? Because once a knight tried to ride a horse through it. The horse came out, the knight didn't. You enter single file. The walls on either side are moist with something that isn't dew. You run a finger along it by accident. Pull away, and your hand smells of ink and old herbs. No one speaks, not even Corm, whose usual nervous muttering has been replaced by quiet weeping. Not fear, not despair. Something closer to recognition, like he's been here before. And maybe he has. Because the path inside the Needle loops. You walk 10 minutes and emerge into the same square you just left. Tomlin swears under his breath. Corm drops to his knees. 6 knots, he whispers, holding up his hand. You check the twine. He's right. 6. But you haven't seen another bell, not one you can hear. The others, maybe they're ringing somewhere else. Maybe not all bells are made of metal. You try again, this time with Rauk carving marks into the walls as you pass. But when you return to the same square, the marks are gone. In their place, a small doll, straw tied with red thread. It sits on a stone bench staring straight at you with painted eyes. One is blue, the other is missing. Corm refuses to get closer. Rauk draws a circle of salt around it, just in case. 3rd time this week, he mutters. Tomlin just shakes his head. It's watching. And you feel it. The soft heat of that single painted eye, the judgment in its silence, the way it tilts slightly the longer you stare. So you stop staring. Instead, Tomlin pulls you aside. We're being tested, he says. You ask what kind of test. His answer, how much you'll carry before you break. Corm rises again. You leave the Needle, not because you've found the exit, but because it lets you. The sky remains blank. Not night, not morning, just pause, as if the world has hit a breath between thoughts. And in that pause, you arrive at the Gatehouse Archive, a squat stone building built for records and law rolls. Sealed at night, no one goes in after dusk, but the door's open. Of course it is. You enter, and all the scrolls are missing, every single one. In their place, shelves full of bottles, hundreds of glass vials, corked and waxed, each filled with ink, and floating in the ink, names, written on scraps of parchment, some familiar, some not. You find one labeled Tomlin. He sees it, doesn't flinch. He lifts the bottle, turns it once in the torchlight, then smashes it against the floor. The ink spreads across the stone like a spider dying in slow motion. You ask what that does. Tomlin says, "Unwrites my place in the pattern." Rauch finds one labeled Corm. He hesitates. Corm nods. "Do it." Another smash. 2 puddles of ink spreading like shadows, peeling themselves off. Then you find yours, your full name, written in the exact way only you write it, right down to the way you curl the bottom of the Y. Corm says nothing. Tomlin waits, but something tells you, if you smash it now, something else gets written in its place. And if you leave it, you're still part of the story. You hold it tight, and for now, you pocket it. The twine pulses again. 5 knots. You exit the archive, and the town is changing faster now. Streets bend in new directions, doors open into wells. Shadows lean the wrong way, toward the moonless sky. And the thing behind you, it's closer. You hear it breathing. You don't look. You don't need to look, because for just a second, you feel its hand on your shoulder. You freeze. The hand on your shoulder is colder than stone. Not ice cold, not death cold. Memory cold. The kind of cold that seeps out of forgotten things. You wait for the squeeze, for the tug, for the sound of your name whispered backward. But it never comes. The hand simply rests there, heavy, knowing. Tomlin doesn't speak. Neither does Corm, because they don't see it. Whatever this is, it's only for you. After a breathless eternity, it lets go, not slowly, suddenly, like it got bored. You exhale. It hurts. Your breath fogs in the air, even though the night isn't cold. Tomlin finally glances back. "What touched you?" You shake your head. He doesn't push. He already knows the answer. The square ahead is shaped wrong. Too wide, too circular, too clean. It doesn't belong to the town. It belongs to something else. In the center stands a well, but not the kind meant for water. This one's made of marble, veined with gold, humming faintly. None of you have seen it before. None of you speak of it, but your feet still carry you forward, as if the square has its own gravity. On the edge of the well sits a figure, small, barefoot, wrapped in gray linen. A child, or something pretending to be one. Its face is obscured by a hood that doesn't move, even in the wind. It kicks its legs slowly, rhythmically, and hums a tune that sounds like something you've forgotten, but used to love. As you approach, it stops humming. Without looking up, it says, "You're holding time, you know." You glance at the twine in your hand. 4 knots now. You didn't feel that one slip. The figure swings its legs one last time and hops down, bare feet on stone, no sound. "I was the 9th, it says. "What does that mean?" you ask. It turns its head slightly, just enough for you to see the edge of its cheek. It's burned, not fresh. Old, seared into the bone. A brand, maybe. "A bell doesn't just ring," it says. "It marks. You understand?" You don't, but you nod anyway, because that seems like the safest answer. The figure steps toward you and holds out something small, wrapped in linen. You hesitate, then you take it. Inside is a tiny jawbone, child-sized, no teeth. You look up, but the figure is gone. Not walked away, erased. Tomlin takes the bone from your hand gently, like it's glass. He doesn't speak. He just wraps it in waxed cloth and tucks it into his coat. Then he mutters, "Every 10th night, another one joins the choir." You don't ask who the choir is. You don't want to know. Back on patrol now. No one says it, but everything is quieter. Even the town seems to be watching your next move. The houses are further apart than they were. The torches don't burn as brightly. And the streets are longer. Somehow, like someone's been stretching the map when you're not looking. Corm breaks the silence. There were 5 of us when the watch started. You blink. He's right. There were. A 5th guard. What was his name? You can't remember his face or his laugh or what he carried. You just remember his spot in line. Empty now. Tomlin doesn't answer. He just says, "Keep moving." You reach the plague yard, a fenced field of unmarked graves, 100 bodies under 2 feet of soil. No stones, just the wind and the bones. Tomlin steps through the gate. You follow. The grass is short here, but it never grows. It's cut from the root, always has been. Corm whispers, "This place was quiet last week." You don't ask what changed, because you can hear it, not moaning, not movement, breathing, slow, measured, in unison, 100 breaths, perfectly timed, beneath the soil. None of the graves are fresh, but one of them is warm. You crouch beside it. There's no name, just a mark drawn in ash. A closed eye. Tomlin puts a hand on your shoulder. "You can lie down here if you want," he says. He means it. It's not a threat, not even a warning. Just an option. You stand. Because you're not done yet. Because something in your chest tells you you haven't reached the 12th bell. Not yet. You walk away, back through the town, back past the dry well and the blank sky and the twisted houses. The twine pulses again. 3 knots. 3. And this time, you hear it. Faint, but real. A bell. Far away, echoing through the bones of the city like thunder underwater. Corm looks up. Rauk closes his eyes. Tomlin simply says, "We're running out of chances." And as you turn the next corner, back toward the guardhouse, you see something waiting in the middle of the road. Yourself, again. But this time, you're asleep, standing, eyes closed, mouth slack, breathing, like a puppet waiting for the string to jerk. And in your hand, the twine. Identical. Same knots, same weight. But it's not you. Not really. Because when its eyes open, they're not yours, they're older and hungrier. The you that isn't blinks slowly, not startled, not surprised, just acknowledging, like it expected this moment, like it wrote this moment. Corm steps back. Rauk draws his sword. But you can't move, because deep down, a part of you recognizes this version. The slack jaw, the stillness in the limbs, the way it holds the twine like it's not really holding it. That's how you used to sleep as a child. Standing up, eyes fluttering, murmuring things you couldn't remember in the morning. Only this one never woke up. It takes a step toward you. Not aggressive, not timid. Just forward. You should stop it. You know that. But some small voice in the back of your skull whispers, "Let's see what it does." Tomlin doesn't wait. He steps between you and your echo. "No closer," he says. The double stops, tilts its head. You both speak at once. One voice, yours, only lower, only emptier. "I just want what you don't." Tomlin raises his blade. The air shifts. The doppelganger vanishes. Not into smoke, not into shadow, but into your chest, like it steps into you without leaving a trace. Your breath catches. The twine in your hand goes cold. You check it. 2 knots. Tomlin grabs your wrist, his face unreadable. Did it take something? You don't know. You feel lighter. And that's the problem, because it didn't steal a memory or a dream or a word. It stole a weight, a necessary one. Something that had been keeping your soul tied down like ballast. And now, you're not sure gravity applies to you the same way anymore. Corm touches your shoulder. You all right? You nod, because lying feels safer than the truth. Back at the guardhouse, the fire is out. It was burning earlier. You remember stoking it. You remember the heat. Now there's only cold ash. Rauk lights a new torch. The smoke drifts upward but then turns, curling down toward the floor like water pouring in reverse. Corm watches it, says, "That's not wind." Tomlin kneels beside the hearth, draws a symbol in the ash. It pulses, dimly, a shape like an hourglass made from teeth. He frowns. "That's not ours." You ask whose it is. He doesn't answer, because he doesn't know. The hearth pulses again, then speaks, not aloud, in your head. One word, return. The fire relights. Blue, silent, but warm. And you realize what it's asking. Return what was taken. Return what escaped. Return you. The guards don't say anything. They just look at you. You still have the twine. You still have the bottle in your coat pocket. You still have your name. For now. Tomlin leads you down into the cellar beneath the guardhouse. No one's been here in decades. It was sealed after the incident with the tax collector who came in but never came out. You pass cobwebs that rebuild themselves behind you. You pass a door with no hinges and no knob. You pass a mirror. This one is blank. No reflection, only glass. And inside it, movement. Slow, wrong. Something behind the glass is learning how to become you. You look away. Corm whispers, "We're close." And you feel it too. Like a tide pulling against your ribs, like the heartbeat of a machine made of old promises. You reach the bottom chamber, a perfect circle of stone. Empty, except for a stool in the center. And on it, a book, bound in waxed leather, tied shut with twine. Exactly like yours, but heavier. You approach it. The final 2 knots on your own twine vibrate, like tuning forks. Rauk steps to your side. Tomlin keeps his distance. He knows what's coming. He's seen it before. You untie the first of the last 2 knots. The book shudders. It breathes. It opens. Inside, pages. Dozens. Hundreds. All blank. Except the last one. Where one word is written over and over. Stay. You understand then. This book doesn't hold a story. It writes one, and someone, or something, wants you to take your place as the next chapter. The final knot in your hand goes still. Not undone yet. Just waiting. You have a choice. You can tie the twine again, seal the book, refuse the invitation, or you can turn the page and let the night write you down. You don't turn the page, not yet. Your thumb hovers over the edge, feeling the roughness of the parchment. It's not normal paper. It feels like skin dried over memory, something meant to last long after your breath is gone. The word stay flickers once, then again. Not like ink fading, more like it's blinking. You look at Tomlin. He hasn't moved. Neither have Corm or Rauk. But the torches, they're burning sideways. Not flickering, burning horizontally, like gravity's been rotated 30 degrees without warning you. The room begins to tilt. No, it was always tilted. You just forgot how rooms work when time is folding. Corm leans close, his whisper thin. We should go. But there's no door anymore. Just the book, the twine, and the ache in your chest that feels a lot like inevitability. Tomlin says quietly, "You're at the hinge." You turn to him. "What hinge?" He points at the last knot. "That one. The final bell. When it rings, this version of the night ends. You don't get to rewatch it. You don't get to explain it. You just become part of it." The fire in the wall hearth sputters blue and green. Corm swears under his breath. "How do we make it stop?" Tomlin finally shrugs. You don't. You just choose who walks out of here. You look back at the book, and it's no longer blank. Your name is written across every page now, over and over, but not by your hand. The handwriting is wrong, letters too tall, curves too sharp, the Y again, but not how you write it. It's how you dream of writing it. The book is writing you not as you are, but as something else sees you, something close, something hungry. You take a step back. The twine burns. The final knot writhes. Not untying, but fighting. It wants release. It wants the bell to ring. But you haven't heard it yet, because this time, you're the bell, and it only rings when you choose. Tomlin tosses you the bottle. Your name, floating in ink, unbroken, still sealed. If you want to stay you, he says, you pour that ink out. You let the name die. You hold the vial. Cold, heavy. Inside it, you see a reflection. Not yours. The other you. The one that stepped inside back in the alley. Smiling, waiting. Corm grips your arm. Don't let it in. The final knot pulses again, so close to unraveling you can feel the story tugging at your bones. You kneel beside the fire. You stare at the bottle. You stare at the book. You stare at the final knot. And you have a thought you've never had before. What if I've always been the echo? Not the real version. Not the original. Just one more copy caught in a loop of old bells and wet ink and crooked reflections. The kind of thought that sits behind your teeth, waiting to be let out. You feel it now. Real as stone. This isn't the first time you've come to this room. It's not the first time you've held the book. You've always been holding it. The final knot loosens. Almost there. Corm grabs your wrist. We can walk away. You meet his eyes and quietly say, "No, we can't. We already didn't." Then you smash the bottle, ink everywhere, on the fire, on the pages, on the twine. The book screams, not aloud, in your spine. Your ears ring, your teeth buzz, and then the bell tolls. 12, a perfect low note, resonating through the town like a spine cracking open. You don't hear it, you are it, and in that moment, everything pauses. The book closes, the fire dies, the ink fades from the floor, and the twine in your hand turns to dust. No more knots, no more questions, just silence. You wake up, standing in the square just before dawn, Corm beside you. Tomlin checking the horizon, Rauk sharpening his blade even though it doesn't need sharpening. The bell tower is whole, the ink is gone, the buildings look normal, the sky has color again, and the air smells like bread and wet stone. No one says anything for a long time. Then Tomlin speaks. "You kept your name." You nod. "You'll forget most of it," he adds, "but not all." You look down. The bottle is gone. The twine is gone. But under your boot, half buried in the dirt, a single tooth. Small, white, still warm. Corm picks it up and pockets it without a word. Then the town begins to stir. First a rooster, then a window shutter creaking open. Then someone shouting about missing firewood. Normal. Comforting. Untrue. You walk to the guardhouse. Sit beside the cold hearth. And when you close your eyes, you hear the book open again. Somewhere far below. But this time, it isn't calling you. It's waiting for the next name. It's morning. That should mean something. It should break the spell, reset the board, start the world over with porridge and sunlight and the distant clatter of hooves on cobblestone. But it doesn't, because you are different now, and the town can tell. People don't meet your eyes when you pass. They nod, polite, hurried, just enough to say, "Yes, I see you," but not enough to get involved. One boy looks up from sweeping the steps of the bathhouse, stares too long, and immediately drops his broom. He doesn't pick it up. Tomlin says nothing. He doesn't have to. He knows what you feel. The way the daylight still seems thin, like someone forgot to finish painting it in. The way the edges of things feel heavier now. Door frames, gate posts, the hands of clocks. The way your name echoes slightly when someone says it. You've been written into something else, and you're not alone. Later that afternoon, you and Tomlin sit by the well in the main square. The real one, the old one, where water still runs clear and cold. He passes you a boiled egg and some dark bread. You eat in silence. Across the square, 2 guards drill with halberds. They're clumsy. One of them keeps flinching at shadows. You remember doing the same your first week. Tomlin finally says, "Most folk don't notice." You nod. He means the changes. The long shadows at noon, the strange dreams that creep across pillows like mold. The new names carved into the church wall in chalk that never smudges. Why us, you ask? Tomlin cracks his egg with one hand. Because we were awake. The phrase again. Simple. Chilling. You think back to that moment. The first patrol, the first bell, the first knot in the twiner, and you realize you've always been on the night watch, even before you wore the uniform, even before you knew the town's name, even before you knew your name. Because the watch doesn't start when the bell tolls. It starts the first time you ask a question you shouldn't have asked. You rise from the well and walk the midday circuit. The same streets now feel smaller, though nothing's changed. The signs are all there if you look. A cat sitting still in an alley where there's no food. A patch of moss growing in a perfect spiral on a wooden door. A ladder propped against nothing, reaching toward the sky. You pass them all without comment, because acknowledging them would mean inviting them back in. For now, the day holds. Corm finds you by the edge of the mill pond just before dusk. He tosses a stone into the water, watches the ripples go too far, too wide, like they're reaching across more than just the pond. "Do you remember what it said?" he asks. You know what he means. The book, the voice in the ink, the "you that wasn't you that tried to take your place." You nod. I remember the part where it wanted me to choose. Corm looks up. What did you choose? You don't answer, because you're still not sure. Because maybe choosing not to choose was the choice. And maybe that's what saved you. Or maybe it's what let it stay. As night approaches, the sky stretches pink and gold over the rooftops. Bells ring, real ones this time. Evening mass. Market close. The 9th hour. No false tolls. No whispers in the stones. But something still breathes in the corners of the city. Not malevolent, not monstrous. Just curious. Waiting to see what you'll do next time, because there will be a next time. There always is. That night you return to the guardhouse. You light the hearth. The flames are normal, orange, warm, predictable. You sit in your bunk and pull a small item from your coat pocket. The tooth, the one from the plague yard. You turn it over in your fingers. And for just a moment, a whisper. Faint, gentle, almost kind. Thank you. You close your hand around it and sleep. This time your dreams are quiet, but not empty. Somewhere in the depths of them, a book waits with fresh pages. And a bell, not yet rung. You wake before the sun. That's new. You used to sleep through dawn, through everything, if given the chance. But now, something inside you rings when the world is about to shift. A faint pressure in your ribs, a tightening behind your eyes, like a tuning fork held just beside your thoughts. So when you sit up in bed, the fire already burned low to embers, you're not surprised to find Tomlin already awake, sitting on the floor near the window, sharpening a knife that isn't his. You know it isn't his because it's too old. Carved bone hilt, blade blackened like charcoal, runes etched down the spine, none of them repeated, all of them wrong in the right way. You don't ask where he got it. Some stories are better left as background noise. Today is gate duty. You haven't done it since the night the twine ran out. They say it's the easiest post. They're wrong. Because watching the gates is not about guarding against what's outside. It's about seeing what tries to come in wearing the shape of someone familiar. Your shift begins just after sunup. The east gate, the same one where the first bell rang. The same gate the twine was tied to. The same gate where the reflection of yourself took its first breath. It still stands, iron-banded oak, reinforced hinges. 2 stories tall, but the shadow it casts now, that's changed. Used to be a normal arch, a soft half-moon. Now, straight lines, no curve, like it's trying to forget it was ever a gate at all. Corm joins you, yawning into his gloved hand. Long night, you ask. He shrugs. Weird dreams. Kept hearing songs. You look at him. What kind of songs? He shakes his head. Not with words. Just a melody. Familiar. Like something I used to hum as a kid but can't remember the tune. You nod. And you say nothing. Because you dreamed it too. Only for you the song had verses. And the last line ended with your name. Mid-morning, a traveler approaches. Hooded, cloaked, limps slightly, carrying a lantern even though the sun is high. Corm stops him. Name? The traveler lifts his head slowly. It's your face, but older, tired, wounded. Scar across the left cheek, exactly where the glass cracked in the mirror you saw that night. Corm steps back. You don't. You meet your own eyes. The traveler speaks. His voice is rougher, but it's yours. Like your voice after a long cry or a longer betrayal. I've come home. You glance at Corm. He looks to you, back to the traveler, then says quietly, You're already here. The traveler nods. Then let me in. You place your hand on the gate. You feel it shiver, like it's trying to resist your decision, like even the wood wants to warn you. But this isn't about the gate. This is about the rules. Only one of you gets to stay. You stare at the traveler, and he blinks slowly, then asks, What did you do with the book? You say nothing, but your silence is the answer. He exhales. Not angry, not sad, just defeated. And then he turns without a word and begins to walk away, not down the road, but into the field, toward nothing. And with each step, he becomes less detailed. His cloak loses folds, his boots lose scuffs, his shadow disappears. By the time he reaches the tree line, he's just an outline, then gone. Corm finally exhales. Well, that wasn't normal. You glance at him. None of this has been. He shrugs. Still beats tax records. Afternoon arrives with rain. Not enough to flood, just enough to blur the edges of the buildings. The townsfolk move a little faster. Umbrellas bloom like black flowers. Smoke curls sideways. You and Corm take shelter under the gatehouse roof. He carves something into the post with a dull knife. A name, not his, not yours. Just a single word, Watcher. You ask what it means. He shrugs. I think it's what I am now. You nod. You understand. Night comes slowly, stretching itself across the cobblestones like a cat warming its spine. You light the first torch. It flickers once, then steadies. And far off in the distance, on the western edge of town, a bell, but not from a tower, not from a building, from the ground. A sound like iron throats singing through dirt and memory. Corm stiffens. You both look west. Tomlin appears beside you, his cloak already damp. He says only 3 words. Not our shift, and you believe him. Because tonight someone else will hold the twine. Someone else will decide when to turn the page. And for now, you'll just watch. Because you know what happens when no one's awake. There are new recruits tonight. 3 of them. Fresh faces. Boots too clean. Eyes still bright from the market fire pit and the cider stall. They laugh too loud in the courtyard. One of them hums a tune. The same melody from your dreams, but just off-key enough to make your skin crawl. You and Tomlin watch from the steps of the armory. He doesn't speak for a long time. Then, just as one of the boys drops a helmet and curses in a voice that cracks with youth, Tomlin says, "They always start happy." You glance over. He's not watching the boys. He's watching the sky, not for clouds, for cracks. The patrol list arrives at sundown. Corm brings it in, soaked from the rain. 3 names for night watch. Yours, Tomlin's, and one of the recruits, Elric. You don't remember his name until you see it. Then it clicks. Tall one, blonde hair, whistled while tying his boots. You fold the parchment and set it on the table. First night, Tomlin says flatly. He'll be all right, Corm offers, but he doesn't sound convinced. None of you are, because first nights are when the town tests you, not with monsters, not with madness, but with choices. You set out just after first bell. Not one of the 12, just the regular bells, the human bells. You try to cling to that distinction now. Elric carries a halberd too big for him. The torch keeps sputtering in the wind, and he keeps relighting it, muttering curses like they're spells. But he follows you without complaint. Down Baker's Row, past the square, over the bridge where the water runs too slow. Everything feels fine. And that's worse than anything else. Because nights like this, they lull you. They lean into you like an old friend. They wait. They let you think you're safe. You arrive at the old granary, a squat, long-abandoned building near the edge of the merchant quarter. It's locked. It's always locked. But tonight, the door's ajar. Tomlin stops. So do you? Elric squints at it. Could be rats. Tomlin says nothing. You step forward, gently pushing the door open. Inside, dust. Cobwebs. Old sacks of flour hardened into chalky tombstones. You feel the air before you smell it. Too warm, like breath. Like someone just exhaled beside your cheek. You raise your torch, and there's a mirror. You blink. There shouldn't be. A full-length mirror, framed in tarnished gold, standing upright at the center of the room. Covered in dust, but no footprints leading to it. You glance at Tomlin. He doesn't blink, just mutters, "It's early." You don't ask what that means. Elric stares at the mirror. Why would someone leave this here? You shrug. But you're watching the mirror closely, and you notice something. The reflection is wrong. The bags of flour, the beams, the door, all mirrored perfectly. Except you. You're not in it. Tomlin isn't in it, but Elric is. Only, not quite. His reflection is smiling. Elric isn't. You step forward. The reflection turns to look at you. Elric doesn't move. Tomlin says, "Time to go." But you can't yet, because the mirror's version of Elric raises its hand and presses it to the inside of the glass. Elric suddenly stumbles back, clutching his chest. Breath knocked out. "You all right?" you ask. He nods, pale, shaking. "Just a flutter. I get them sometimes." The mirror fogs slightly, not from your breath, from inside. And then you see it, on the glass, written in the condensation, 1. Tomlin drags you out by the shoulder. The door slams shut behind you. You glance back. No mirror, no fog, just grain rot and darkness. Elric is coughing. He doesn't remember what happened. You don't press. You've learned by now. The watch doesn't explain. It endures. Later that night, near the old watchtower ruins, Elric speaks again. Quietly. You ever get the feeling something's counting? You nod. He swallows. I saw a number, just now. On a window, I think. What number? He hesitates. 2. Tomlin doesn't react, but you feel something tighten in your gut. 2. That means the mirror is moving. It's watching, following, tallying, and Elric's reflection, whatever it is, wants out. Midnight. No more strange sightings. No bells that don't belong. Just wind and torchlight and the long, slow stretch of knowing you'll make it to dawn if nothing else breaks. You pass by the chandler's shop. Dark. Still boarded from the fire 3 years ago. But one window. Lit. A flicker of movement. You peer in. A candle, burning low. And a boy, sitting cross-legged on the floor. You recognize him. Or think you do. He looks like Elric, but younger, holding a mirror shard in one hand, and smiling like someone taught him what would happen next. You pull back, tell no one. Because sometimes the best way to protect someone from their own reflection is to pretend you didn't see it. Dawn is close. Not in the sky, not yet, but in your chest. That slow easing of tension behind your ribs, like your body knows the sun is near before the light does. Elric is quiet now. Too quiet. He hasn't spoken since the chandler's shop. Not since you all saw him, his shadow, his echo, his origin maybe, sitting with that mirror shard, smiling like the joke's on you. He doesn't ask questions. He just walks, halberd loose in his grip, torch nearly out. Tomlin nudges your elbow as you round the bend near the broken statue of St. Roderick. He's hearing things, Tomlin mutters. How do you know? You whisper back. He hasn't blinked in 10 minutes. You pass the statue. Most of it is missing. Only the pedestal and a pair of stone feet remain. The rest was taken by fire, rot, and silence. But as you walk by, the feet shift, not visibly, not dramatically, just slightly. One toe curls downward like it's gripping the edge of the plinth. You and Tomlin both stop. Elric doesn't. He keeps walking. And you both know what that means. The new ones don't see the change first. They become it. You catch up to Elric. Walk beside him. Say nothing. Until you reach the alley behind the apothecary, where the shadows don't stretch correctly and the ivy grows downward, rooting into air. That's when Elric stops. Looks at you. Eyes glassy. Voice soft. I don't want to go back. You blink. Back where? He blinks, slowly once. His mouth doesn't move, but you hear the answer anyway. Where the mirrors lead. Your stomach turns cold. Because it's not Elric saying that. It's something through him. Tomlin draws a mark in the dirt. A small circle, a line through it. A sigil for pause. Not stop, not trap, just pause. Elric takes a step toward it. And then the wind howls. No warning, no storm, just sound. Like someone tearing linen over your ears. Elric collapses. You catch him. He's shaking, eyes wide. Pupils blown so wide there's almost no color left. He whispers. 3. I saw it. In the smoke. You look around. No fire. No torches. But the smell. Ash. Old. Familiar. And with it something else. Something chemical. Like melted wax. Like mirror glass just before it cools. You haul Elric to his feet. He's breathing, but barely. He looks up at you, tears caught in his lashes. What's happening to me? You could tell him. You could tell him that sometimes the watch doesn't defend the town. It absorbs what tries to get in. And it leaves something behind. A seed, a number, growing quietly inside your breath. But you don't. You just say, we're almost done. because he needs that lie right now. Maybe you do too. Back at the guardhouse, you lower Elric onto a cot. Corm joins you, takes one look at the boy, then leaves to boil water. Tomlin starts unpacking something from a waxed cloth, a shard of silver, rounded, polished, mirror-like. You step between him and Elric. "What are you doing?" "Checking," Tomlin replies. You shake your head. "Not yet." He studies your face. Then the mirror, then the boy, then finally nods. "Dawn first," he says. Then mirrors. You sit beside Elric. His eyes flutter closed. For now, you watch the light rise slowly outside, and you listen, carefully, for anything strange. But the bells stay silent. No hidden 13th toll. No humming in the walls. No footprints in the soot. Just breathe. Yours, Tomlin's, Elric's, and one more, just behind the walls. Faint, but rhythmic. Patient, counting still. You know the numbers haven't stopped. You know the mirror is still out there, not in the room, not in the tower, but somewhere between things, in the lines between reflections, in the moment between thought and name. And when it gets to 12, it won't be Elric it's after. It'll be you. You sleep at midday, head heavy, fire crackling gently in the corner. You dream of stone steps, a town you almost remember, a door you almost open, and the moment just before the bell. You know what waits beyond the door. You open it anyway, and there you are. Not waiting, not smiling, just holding a book. Closed and whispering. 4. 4. You wake with the number still echoing in your bones, like you've swallowed a church bell and it hasn't stopped ringing. The room is dim. The fire has burned low again. But this time, it didn't go out. It won't. There's something in the flame that's not flame. Colors you can't name. Shapes flickering inside it like eyes pressed against stained glass. You don't look at it too long. Instead, you look at Elric. He's awake now, staring at the ceiling, mouth slightly open like he's trying to catch something falling from above. "Did I dream?" he asks. Tomlin looks up from where he's carving lines into the wooden bed frame. You answer first. "Number." But something dreamed you. He doesn't respond to that. Maybe he doesn't understand. Maybe he does and he's trying to forget. It's evening now. Too soon. Time folds faster these days. Tomlin grunts and tosses you a new patrol scroll. You unroll it. 3 names again. Yours, Elric, and someone new. Merritt. A woman this time. You remember her vaguely. Sharp-eyed. Never speaks unless asked. Walks like she's seen more war than any town this size could explain. You don't like it. 2 fresh recruits on one shift? That's not a patrol. That's a test. You glance at Tomlin. He just shrugs. We don't write the names. We just carry them. You meet Merritt in the yard. She's early, already armored. No torch, just a short axe and a belt of chalk. She nods once at you, doesn't smile. You like her immediately. You, Elric, and Merritt walk the eastern loop. It's dusk, the hour when all shadows begin to stretch and nothing quite fits in its skin. By the time you pass the Wainwright's barn, it started again. That pressure in the air, like walking into a room that hasn't been opened in 100 years, but still knows your name. Merritt notices it too. She runs a thumb along the haft of her axe. "Elric," you say quietly. "Anything feel strange?" He pauses. Then, 5. I dreamed it again. This time it was scratched into the glass of a pitcher at the tavern. You stop. You were at the tavern? No, he says. But in the dream, I was washing my hands. I looked up and the mirror wasn't a mirror. Just water, shaped like me. Then I blinked and the number was there. Scratched, he nods, with a tooth. Merritt glances at you. No expression. Just waiting. Just watching. You continue on. Past the bell tower. Past the old mill. You reach the empty house. No one's lived there in 50 years. It's condemned, but the town refuses to tear it down. Even the rats keep their distance. You shouldn't go in. But the door's open, and Elric is already standing at the threshold. Don't, you say. He looks at you, eyes glassy, voice calm. It's already inside. You don't have time to ask what it is, because Merritt pushes past both of you, walks in, you follow. Inside, dust. Rot. A chair turned toward the corner. No mirror, but in the dust on the floor. Footprints, 3 sets, yours, Elric's, Merritt's, and a 4th. But the 4th is wrong, too long, too narrow, no heel. Just the balls of the feet, like something walking on tiptoe. Like someone trying to imitate human shape and missing just enough to make your skin crawl. The tracks lead to the back room. Merritt goes first. Inside, a vanity, covered in cloth. You stop her. She looks at you. I know mirrors, she says, then whips the cloth off. No glass. Just water, held in place like a liquid lens, suspended in a frame. You stare, and in it, you don't see yourself. You see 6. Not people. Numbers. In rows. 6, 6, 6. Then a new one forms. 7. The water shatters. Not spills, and shatters, like frozen glass. Merritt stumbles back, one arm bleeding. She's breathing heavy, eyes locked on the empty frame. She whispers, I didn't touch it. You pull her back. Out of the house, onto the street. Elric follows last. He's calm. Too calm. I saw it, he says. I finally saw it. You ask, what? He turns to you and his shadow doesn't match his shape anymore. It's taller. The end of the counting. You don't sleep that night. Neither does Tomlin. Neither does the bell tower, because sometime after midnight, the bells start to whisper. Not ring, not chime. Whisper. Just one word, 8. Over and over and over. At dawn, Merritt is gone. No blood, no signs of struggle. Just her axe, left neatly on the guardhouse table. And beside it, a shard of glass. Fogged, wet, and scratched with a single mark. 9. You sit on the steps as morning drips in like wax. Elric stands beside you. His eyes are still glassy. But now he smiles. And in the window behind him for just a moment. The reflection smiles first. You want to scream. You don't. Instead, you study the reflection. Still, silent, smiling, and wrong. Not because it looks strange, because it looks perfect. The angle of the shoulders, the softness of the jaw, the way the smile holds, just a second too long. It's like someone tried to draw you from memory and did too well. You blink. The reflection doesn't. Elric shifts beside you. Did you see it? He asks, almost hopeful. You nod, but you don't take your eyes off the glass. You know what that means, he continues. 10. You look at him sharply. He's not guessing. He's remembering. Inside the guardhouse, Tomlin is at the map wall, pins in place, chalk lines marking every incident. The barn, the granary, the well, the empty house, the chandler's shop, all forming a shape. Not a star, not a spiral, a door. You trace the edges with your fingertip. Has it happened before? You ask. He doesn't answer. You look at him. Tomlin. His voice is very soft. Yes, twice. You step back. Why didn't you say anything? He finally meets your gaze. Because I survived both times. And the others didn't. And maybe not speaking it is why I'm still here. Outside, Elric is humming again. That song. The one without words. The one that makes your bones itch. You step outside and sit next to him. He doesn't stop humming, just rocks slightly forward and back, as if counting time without numbers. You ask, "Do you remember anything from last night?" He shrugged. "A little." "Like what?" He closes his eyes. "There's a staircase in the mirror now. I think it leads down. I think I'm supposed to follow it. You stay very still. Have you gone down it?" He shakes his head. "Not yet. It says I'm not ready." "What does?" He opens his eyes. "You. That evening the patrol list is empty. No names, not even yours. Tomlin says nothing. Corm brings dinner. No one eats. Because there's something outside now. You can feel it pressing against the edge of the town. Not clawing, not screaming, just watching. Like a parent waiting for a child to finally say yes. And when you look to the far side of the square, you see it. A figure standing still in the center of the road. No face, just a mirror where its head should be. Fogged, cracked, leaking light. Elric doesn't even react. He just says, "That's 11. And then the bell tower chimes. Once, twice, a full 11 notes. But no one rang it, and the sky stays dark. You step into the street. Tomlin follows, blade drawn. Corm, too, flanking you. Elric stays behind, watching through the window. The mirror-headed figure doesn't move. Until you're 10 steps away. Then, slowly, it raises a hand. Points behind you. You turn. Elric is gone. But his reflection is still in the window, still watching, still smiling, and when it tilts its head, the mirror man nods. The figure walks away. Not fast, not far, just down the middle of the road. As it goes, the stones beneath it change, not visibly, audibly. Each step rings like a bell, and with each chime, the air ripples. 12. You whisper the word before the 12th step even lands, but it does. The sound is clear, final, beautiful, and just like that, the mirror shatters. Not the figure, the window, the one where Elric's reflection stood. Glass hits the street like coins from a dropped purse. And Elric is there, outside, hands at his sides, eyes black. "I'm ready," he says. You move forward. So does Tomlin, so does Corm. But you all stop when he raises his hand, not to defend, to point. Behind you now, where the mirror man stood. There's a door, impossible. Stone arch, iron frame, no building around it. Just standing there. Open, dark, waiting. Where does it go? You ask. Elric smiles. It's not where it goes, it's when. Then he steps through, and the door closes, and the town exhales. The bells fall silent. The mirror is gone. The map Tomlin drew, empty again. Not erased, just unmade. As if the door took the questions with it. You walk back to the guardhouse in silence. No one speaks. No one eats. No one dreams. That night, just before you close your eyes, Tomlin speaks from his bunk. You think he'll come back? You stare at the ceiling. And in the dark wood beams above, you see something. Not a word, not a shadow, not a shape. Just a number. 13. Faint. Fresh. Waiting. You whisper, "I don't think he ever left." You wake in total darkness. Not nighttime. Not candle-out darkness. This is the absence of light, the kind of black that feels like a substance, not an emptiness. It presses in around you, breathes when you breathe. You reach for your torch. Gone. You call Tomlin's name. Nothing. You call Corm. No answer. You whisper, "Elric," and something in the dark shifts. It's not your bed anymore. You're lying on stone, cold, smooth, slightly damp. You sit up, slowly, and listen. Somewhere in the distance. A drip. Steady. Measured. Like the slow ticking of a clock that counts in centuries instead of seconds. You take a breath and feel it catch in your throat. Not fear. Not yet. Recognition. Because you've been here before. Not physically, but in dreams, in flashes behind closed eyes. In the mirror, there's only one path forward. The corridor slopes down, impossibly smooth and seamless, like carved obsidian. No torch, no lantern, but a faint, silvery glow coats everything. You don't know where the light comes from. You walk, not because you want to, because you can't not. After some time, hours maybe, you reach a chamber, perfectly circular, tall, quiet. In the center, a pedestal. On it, a mirror, but this one isn't glass. It's water, again, suspended in a ring of iron, perfectly still. You approach and look inside. You expect your reflection. You get Elric. He's seated cross-legged in a room you don't recognize. Stone walls, flickering torches, a window that opens onto nothing. He looks calm. He's writing. You watch as he carves words into a slate with a shard of bone. And the words are, "This has happened before." You whisper, "Where are you?" And Elric looks up. Right at you. Right through the mirror. His eyes aren't black anymore. They're mirrors too. He smiles. Softly. Not malicious. Not gleeful. Just understanding. And then he mouths a word. You read it. Clear as daylight. 14. The water ripples. And a door opens behind you. No creak, no click. It just appears, as if it had been there all along, waiting for you to notice. Beyond it, light. Actual light. Sunlight. Grass. Stone walls. You step through. And you're back. In the guardhouse. Daytime. Tomlin is sharpening a blade. Corm is reading something with a confused expression. Neither of them saw you leave, or noticed you are gone. You're still holding the torch. But the handle is wet. You walk to the map wall. The pins are still gone. But something new is there. A circle. Drawn in charcoal. Inside it, 13 tiny marks. Like hash marks on a clock face. A 14th has just been added. You didn't do it. Neither did Tomlin. You ask Corm. He shrugs. I thought it was always there. You stare. The 14th mark is darker than the others. Still smudged at the edges. Still fresh. And in that moment, you understand. The counting isn't tracking victims. It's tracking doors, openings, moments in the world when something else slips through. Elric wasn't taken. He was transformed, turned into a key. And now, you are too. That evening, you're back on patrol, alone. No list, no orders, just instinct. You walk the northern path, past the stone orchard, toward the edge of the old market wall. The moon is out, but dim, as if it's been turned away from the town, refusing to witness. You stop at the crossroads, a well, a bench, and a mirror propped up where a signpost used to be. You didn't bring it. You didn't see it coming. But it's there now. You approach it. Look in. No reflection. Only a number, 15, and beneath it, written in reverse, faint and flickering. You're almost ready. You whisper, "Ready for what?" And the glass begins to hum. Low, steady, like a voice breathing your name through a keyhole. Then, nothing. Just you. And your reflection. Finally returned. But it's not smiling anymore. It's afraid. The reflection is afraid, and you should be too. But fear feels distant now, like a childhood memory, like a flavor you haven't tasted in years. Instead, what you feel is weight, not on your shoulders, not on your chest, inside, like something has been placed within you, not evil, not righteous, just inevitable. You blink. So does the reflection. You lift your hand. It doesn't follow. It lifts first. You take a step back. The mirror begins to frost over from the inside, crystals blooming like spiderwebs, spelling out shapes you almost understand. You've seen this before. Not here. In your dreams. The frost forms one word. No letters, just meaning. You know what it says? 16. And below it, a question. Not written, not heard, but felt, pressed gently into your ribs like the pause before a heartbeat. Will you open it? The mirror shatters. No sound, just dispersal. The shards blink out of sight like stars at dawn. You're left standing at the crossroads, alone again. But the question lingers. Not in your head. In the town, because something is coming, or something is already here. And someone, somewhere, must open the door. Back at the guardhouse, the map has changed again. No pins, no marks. Just a word written in broad strokes across the parchment. Threshold. Tomlin sees it too. He doesn't ask who wrote it. He just exhales through his nose and says, "It's happening faster now." You nod. "How many doors do you think are left?" He doesn't look up from his knife. "As many as we can take before we stop counting." You don't sleep that night. You sit by the window and watch your reflection in the glass. It doesn't mimic you anymore. Sometimes it turns its head. Sometimes it stares past you, like it sees something standing behind. Once, just once, you swear it mouths the word 17. You breathe in. Something breathes out. At first light, the bells ring, not the 12th, not even 13. Just a single tone, drawn out, low, unnatural. A resonance that runs up your spine and fills your teeth with numbness. You stand. You're already dressed. Tomlin joins you at the door. No words, just the shared look of men who've been through more than war. You walk, not toward a patrol, not toward a known street. Your feet take you somewhere else. To the old well behind the abbey. No one's used it in decades. Everyone says it's dry. It isn't. There's water there now. Clear. Still. And at the bottom, you, face up, eyes open, mouth forming a number. You lean over the edge, listening, and you hear the echo of your voice from below, whispering, 18. You don't speak on the walk back. No one would believe you. No one needs to. The people are quieter today. The birds don't sing. The dogs don't bark. Even the wind moves differently, like it's trying not to draw attention. Corm is gone. No sign of struggle. Just his boots, neatly placed beneath his bunk, and on the pillow, a shard of mirror fogged at the edges. You don't touch it. You already know what it says. 19. Tomlin doesn't flinch when you tell him, just scratches another mark on the wall, not with chalk, with bone. You don't ask whose. That evening, the sky turns the color of iron. Not gray. Iron. Like the whole world is holding its breath before a strike. The townspeople close shutters that haven't been shut in years. Nail boards into doors. Draw symbols with old blood and older ash. They remember this, even if they pretend not to. Even if they call it folklore. They remember what happens at 20. You light a candle, not because you need the light, because it's the last one left, and the flame flickers in a way that doesn't feel random. It moves like it's communicating, like it's counting. Each flicker, one breath, one step, one door, and the last flicker, the long, low one, whispers the shape of the number in the air, double X. You fall asleep beside the fire, not on purpose, just blink once, and the world tilts. You dream again. This time there's no mirror, no Elric, no door, just a field of grass stretching endlessly in every direction, and in the center, a hand, sticking up from the ground, palm open, empty, waiting, and from the horizon, something is walking toward it. Not fast, not loud, just steady, and as it approaches, you realize it's you, but not anymore. The smile is too wide, the skin too smooth, And behind the eyes, numbers, spinning, stacking, growing. It reaches the hand, grasps it, and together you both turn and look directly at you. You wake with a start. The fire's out, the candle is gone, and in the ashes, drawn by something unseen. 20. 20. It's here now, not coming, not close. Here. You wake to silence so deep it hurts. No birds, no bells, not even the groaning wood of the old beams shifting in the dawn. The town is frozen, and something is standing outside the door. You don't hear footsteps. You don't hear knocking. You just feel it, like weight pressing against the other side of the wood, like your own reflection leaning forward, lips inches from glass. Tomlin is already awake. He looks at the door, then at you, and says, "We have to open it." He doesn't mean the guardhouse door. He means the door, the one that isn't in any wall, the one the numbers have been counting toward like breaths before a scream. You nod, because there's nothing left to do. You're not soldiers anymore. You're not watchers. You're keys. You gather what little you need. A candle that won't burn. A shard of mirror that won't reflect. A name you're not supposed to say. And you walk together. Out into the street. Past homes with shuttered windows and quiet prayers. The people don't speak to you, but they watch. Like they know this isn't for them. Like they know someone has to do it, and they're just grateful it's not them. You head for the mirror gate. It's not a place exactly. It moves. Sometimes it's near the chandler's shop. Sometimes it's behind the bell tower. Tonight it's in the square. No one built it, but it's always been. An arch of polished stone, a door with no hinges, a seam in the world where light folds the wrong way. You've never seen it open. Until now. The door yawns. Not like a hinge, like a mouth. Darkness spills from its edges, curling along the cobblestones like smoke in reverse. Inside, nothing. Not shadow, not color, just absence. And at its center, a figure. Still tall, familiar. Elric, or what's left of him. He's smiling, but not at you, at the town, like he sees every building, every roof beam, every stone, and he's saying goodbye. You step forward. Tomlin hesitates. You turn. He looks at you. There's no coming back, is there? You shake your head. Number. But there's moving forward. He grunts, half laughs. Same thing, maybe. You step through. The door closes behind you without a sound, and the world changes. You're not in the town anymore. You're in a mirror of it. But the buildings are made of paper. The sky's a ceiling. The sun is a lamp, swaying slightly as if hung by a cord no one can see. And you're standing across from yourself. Literally. A perfect reflection. Same clothes. Same expression. But their eyes are clear. Empty. You raise your hand. So do they. You take a step. So do they. But then they stop. And you don't. You walk through them and feel yourself become more. Not possessed. Not doubled. Complete. Like you found the part of yourself that always knew the numbers would run out. And when you turn, there are others. Standing in a wide circle. 20 reflections. 20 selves. 20 keys. One by one, they nod and vanish until only you remain. Then a voice. Not from outside. From within. Software gentle. Familiar. Elric's voice. Now you understand. You nod and whisper, 21. The mirrored town begins to collapse. Not fall. Fold. Like paper set aflame at the corners. You don't run. You don't speak. You just stand and wait and let go. Because the counting isn't about arrival. It's about acceptance. And when you stop resisting, the door opens again. You step through it, back to the town, the real one. And now it feels heavier. Not cursed, not broken, just real. Tomlin is waiting. He looks at your eyes and sees what changed. Doesn't ask, just nods and says, "You closed it." You nod. He looks up at the sky. It's quiet now. And it is. No counting, no glass, no frost, no doors, just town, just home, just peace. But even in peace, you remember. You always will, because the mirror's final gift isn't madness. It's memory. The kind that never fades. The kind that whispers late at night, just before sleep. Count carefully. You might not be alone. Peace isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with trumpets or fireworks or a celebratory clang of the bell tower. Peace is what's left when the other thing finally stops looking at you. And now it has. The town exhales. Slowly, you walk its streets again, not as a guard, not as a gatekeeper, but as someone who's been through. And it knows. The town feels it. How your footsteps don't echo anymore. How dogs don't bark when you pass. How children, without knowing why, instinctively lower their voices as you approach. They don't fear you. They just understand something in you now speaks an older language than they do. You return to the guardhouse. There's dust again. The fire is low, and Tomlin is sharpening a blade he doesn't need to use anymore. He doesn't ask what you saw in the mirror town, but you catch him glancing at his own reflection now and then, quickly, cautiously, like it might blink first. You go to the tower. The bells are silent. You climb one slow step at a time until you reach the top. The view is the same. It always is. But you're not. Now you can see things beneath the rooftops. Not monsters, not ghosts. Threads, lines of connection. Paths people take in silence every day, never realizing how close they come to touching something ancient and delicate and sharp. You used to be afraid of those threads. Now you know they hold everything together. You ring the bell once. Not a warning, not a call, just acknowledgement. You made it through the dark. You're still here. At night you walk alone. Old habit. But now, the darkness no longer presses against you. It parted, the moment you stepped back through the final door. Even the reflections walk with you again. Proper ones. Real ones. Though sometimes, just before sleep, they still look a beat too early. Like they're checking in, like they're counting. One night, as autumn begins to stretch its fingers across the town, you pass a small boy sitting on the steps of the baker's shop. He looks up. "You're the night watch," he says, as if he's just figured something out. You crouch beside him. "Not anymore." You smile. He frowns. "Then who watches the dark now?" You glance up at the sky. It's very clear tonight, very deep, very old. You think for a moment, then answer. "We all do." Together. He nods, satisfied. You leave him there with crumbs in his lap and starlight in his hair. Days pass, seasons turn. The town lives, and sometimes in the corner of a window or the still surface of a well, you catch the glint of glass. Not threatening, not summoning, just there, a reminder. The mirror never leaves, it just waits. And you are no longer a reflection. You are what was always real, and so the count ends. Not in fire, not in screaming, but in breath. Slow, quiet, even, as it always should have been, as it should be for you now. So lay your head down. You've traveled far tonight. You've crossed shadows and memory, silence and bells, frost and firelight. You've stared into the places that count you back. And still, you're here. So rest now. No more numbers, no more doors, just stillness, just night, just sleep, end of script. Sweet dreams.